It's really my name. That's one my mom gave me, yeah. He says, that's perfect. But he says, well, my name is Frank Zappa, and you're my new lead vocalist. And I said, oh, well, no, not really. I says, I don't, all due respect, I don't know who you are. I don't know, I've never heard your music before. He tells me you're a musician. What do you play? He says, I play guitar. I says, well, all due respect, I don't know your music and everything, and why would you want me to be your new lead vocalist? He says, because you're perfect. I've been looking for you for a long time. You have the perfect voice to sing many songs, hundreds of songs that I've been trying to get recorded, but I haven't been able to find a lead vocalist that can do what you do. And I said, okay.
Flattery helps.
Well, it was just being honest. I said, well, who's in your band? And he says, listen, don't worry about that. He says, listen, I'll come over Monday, and I'll teach you everything you need to know in one day, and we'll go to Europe next week. I says, well, I have a contract here. He says, it doesn't matter, I'll buy your contract. I says, what do you mean buy a contract? The contract extends for another 2.5 months. I said, I have 5 other musicians up there. He says, don't worry. He said, I'll buy your contract, and I'll start you off at $500 a week. I says, well, that's not very good. I make $400 a week now. I says, plus no taxes. I said, I'm sure you're going to take out taxes. And so he says, well, well, I'll buy the contract. I said, well, it's not that simple. You just can't buy the contract. I haven't heard your music. What makes you think I'll even want to play in your band? I says, well, who are some of the other musicians in your band? And he says, well, George Duke, Jean-Luc Ponty. I said, stop. George Duke and Jean-Luc Ponty play with you? I said, okay, well, number one, you must be good, because they're the best. I says, and number two, there's no way in the world you could teach me in one day what I need to know to embarrass myself in front of George Duke and Jean-Luc Ponty. Excuse me. I said, I'll tell you what I do though. You have piqued my interest. And because I love George Duke. I mean, I'd do anything just to meet him. I said, I tell you what, here's my card. When are you getting back from Europe? Call me when you get back from Europe. Give me a call and I'll come down and do the audition. Oh, come on, I need you to go to Europe. Have you ever been to Europe before? Hey man, you're gonna love it over in Europe. I says, I have a contract here. I promised these guys they'd be over here in paradise for 3 months. We've only been here for 2 weeks. I'm not gonna go back on my word to do something with someone. I'm sorry, I don't know you. I just don't jump up in the morning and run off with people to places I've never been that I don't know. I mean, you can understand that, right?
Right.
I mean,
I get offers all the time,
hey,
you know?
Suppose Kermit the Frog came up to you and told you that, hey, you're going to have to start eating vegetables.
Don't even get me started on
silly rhymes.
Yeah, exactly.
And be on Sesame Street with a bunch of other hairy guys, who were going to upstage you. I mean, would you go for that?
No way. There's no way I can play the animal from, the Muppet Show.
Well, you can empathize with where I'm coming from.
Right.
So I told him that. He says, well, okay, I'll give you a call. I'll be back in a couple of months, and I give you a call. He came back in a couple of months. He gave me a call. I flew down to Hollywood. Drove down to Hollywood. I went in, and he introduced me to the musicians. I just shook George Duke's hand, and I thought I was going to do something in my pants, but, luckily I was, I held up,
Cool.
And they played 7 songs in a row, and he says, listen to this music. If you like it, that's your audition. You don't have to sing or nothing. If you like the band, you're in the band. I said, okay, fine. They played 7 songs in a row, and when they finished, I was sitting there like...
I'm on my way to Europe.
I was sitting there like, how did they do that? It was some of the most incredible music that I've ever heard in my life, and was orchestrated better than any music I've ever heard orchestrated. They had a combination of classical, jazz, rock, and avant-garde jazz. I mean, and I'm from a background of theater. I worked with the San Jose Light Opera Company for about 5 years or so. I'm used to doing Broadway musicals like Oklahoma, Damn Yankees, Guys and Dolls and stuff
that
like
ain't that far away from on stage with Frank Zappa.
Oh,
in a lot of
you
ways.
have to understand, that's why he wanted me. Because very few frontmen have theater experience. You see, to me, every show, every song is a performance, but it's a theatrical performance, because that's where my training comes from. And as soon as I heard the music, I said, oh, I know why you want me now. And it's because of my theatrical training. I didn't say it to him, but within my head I said it. So I said, he says, well, do you think you can do it? I said, sure, let's go. And story, the rest is history.
Now, what about the ladies in Europe?
The ladies in Europe.
Now, from being in the one band in the Zappa's band,
it's such a spicy meatball.
do you think that when you were in Zappa's band, it attracted a different type of lady, or was it the same general, you know?
No, the women,
ladies that like bands.
the women in Europe. I mean, they started all the people drinking over there at 16, and they're allowed to smoke. And sex is not, taboo.
It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal, They give them sex education when they're born. They don't wait until they go out and have problems and come back and say, "Why didn't you tell me that was going to happen?" No, it's completely a different atmosphere about sex over there. And so, most of all. It's just based on your performance, I think. They love a good artist.
Yes.
They love a person who can sing, and they love musicians who can really play. And that inspires them to, if at all, want to be with you.
Right.
They like you, though. I mean, you got that.
They always like me.
Well, you got that certain kind of a nose.
I can always get the lady rock stars,
and those blue eyes,
and stuff. Oh, yeah.
I can see you winking at them.
And the nicotine breath.
And the nicotine breath.
You can overlook that, though.
Well, everybody smokes in Europe, so they might overlook it.
That's true.
They might give you a piece of gum or something,
I am kind of European.
Because we won't talk about the teeth, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, if you guys ever need anybody to sing Lonesome Cowboy Burt, I can sing me a mean Lonesome Cowboy Burt.
If you guys ever
Lonesome Cowboy Burt. I noticed you guys don't got Jimmy.
Where were you last night when we needed you?
I didn't.
In the encore.
I was strapped in this guy's back while he was filming.
So you were there?
Oh, I was there. I was ready to go.
So did you?
I didn't want to interrupt, the artistic flow that was going on.
So you saw the little thing when I was riding the horse across the stage?
That's where I picked this up.
Was that you? You got it. I'm telling you, man. You're a natural. Listen, I'm going to have to tell Tiny Little about you. Tiny Little, he probably would prefer you on his back rather than me.
Oh, I'm sure.
Seeing that I weigh 210
I'm sure.
10 pounds, and you have, you're less than that.
The dead Bob Dole hand, yeah.
That Bob Dole hand, I've watched that. It's okay. Anyway.
Well, now, do you think?
What's your name? I'm sorry.
I'm Piss Pot the Rabbit.
Piss Pot.
Piss Pot the Rabbit. Yeah.
Well, Piss Pot.
Sometimes my cousin.
You demand.
Sometimes my cousin. Shitface the Rabbit. He's the alcoholic though. He's sleeping it off right now. Sometimes he comes out and helps me with interviews.
Okay. Well, Piss Pot. I was with Frank until about 77 actually, because that's after we did the FC Ozzy album that's just been released by the Zappa Family Trust live in Australia. FC Ozzy. After that, I went and spent about 3 years with George Duke and his band, and we did about 4 or 5 albums, the George Duke Jazz Funk Band, and we traveled all over the world as well. As a matter of fact, our last tour of Europe, we did a tour with Joan Almatrading. Have you ever heard of Joan Almatrading?
Yes, I have heard of her.
She's fantastic, man. She draws a lot of women to her concerts.
Right.
And now we won't get into that, but you know a lot.
They might not be the same kind of women
you're
talking about.
Well, I think they're convertible, though.
Oh, sure.
The possibility of converting some of them.
Sure, they already like rock and roll.
Piss Pot, I'm telling you, man. If you shake your booty, anything is possible. Piss Pot, you know what I'm saying?
Put that down in the book of rock.
All women like that. Put that down in your book, Piss Pot. Shake your booty.
We're keeping a list of rules for bands.
This is an important thing, Piss Pot. This is really important. Okay, so after that, one of the things I learned when I was with Frank and George is that if you don't compose any music, you don't receive any royalties. You remember that,
Piss
Pot.
Yes.
If you ever want to write songs and record records.
That's what
so
I learned.
I went on a mission to composing music, and this Piss Pot is my first release.
Excellent. Look, Fuzzy Animals on the cover, too.
The name of this first CD is called Balls. Do you know why it's called Balls, Piss Pot?
Because
I know your imagination is just...
Negative K, nothing further, just take Candy on the corner.